Thank you, Mr. Ramesh David. Ladies and gentlemen, to deal with human resource development and to address you on the theme of human development, South Asia's #1, please welcome Professor Ajantha Dharmasiri, Professor in Management and the former Director and Chairman of the Postgraduate Institute of Management, PIM, of the University of Sri Jayawardhanapura.
Hi everyone, may you have long life. I think this traditional Sri Lankan greeting is far more relevant to now than any time before. So, my name is Ajantha Dharmasiri. I am a lifelong learner. I would like to share some points with regard to my experience and exposure in making your next investment decision wiser and brighter. So, the topic assigned to me today is human development, South Asia's #1. I am coming from an engineering background. I have transitioned myself from being an engineer of electrical to an engineer of hearts and minds. I deal with human beings, human resources in organizations. I have realized that human resource is the only alive and vibrant factor that can command and control the other resources. So, we need to have that right human resource in the right place in producing the right results. So, human resource come from the human society. For us to have right quality human resource, we need to have the right quality human development in the surrounding society. In that context, let me talk more about human development, which is a conducive factor for right investment, to have the right climate. So, South Asia's #1 is something Sri Lankans are very proud of. Why and what? So, let me take you through the details. First of all, the road ahead, I am going to share the quest for excellence, Sri Lanka's attempt to attract more and more investments. Excellence is exceeding expectations. So, it's all about ensuring that you have the right continuous improvement. So, let me talk about three things: quantitative parameters supporting my argument, and qualitative perspectives based on my experience, and the qualifying performance from solid Sri Lanka in showing its potential to attract investments. So, let me start by focusing on South Asia. You see the central land location in the world map. That is where we live. And if you look at it, it's a humanly rich region in the way I look at it. It houses 1/4 of the world population. And it is 11.7% of Asia's land area and 3.5% of world's land area. Quite a significant area, isn't it? And challenging poverty level. This is something not so positive. We are only second to sub-Saharan Africa with regard to poverty. But the positive news is that we produce best brains to the world. For example, if you look at the NASA scientists, there's a figure they say, some have disputed, where they say more than 10% of the scientists are from South Asia. So, that is where we have been having this paradox in my mind: best brains on one side, worse poverty on the other side, and mind you, they are in coexistence. In that backdrop, there are 8 countries in the SAARC region. 8th one was added later as Afghanistan. So, you have 8 countries in the purview of SAARC, that is South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation. And in that backdrop, bright investment prospects in Sri Lanka. That is what I am going to talk about more. So, Sri Lanka in South Asia, we claim that we are the pearl of the Indian Ocean, and we have the rich cultural heritage spanning over 3,000 years. We have ancient irrigation marvels. We were the forerunners of irrigation culture, irrigation society in the world. We had that hydraulic civilization, and we are very proud of it. We have a multi-ethnic, multi-religious, multicultural society. So we see unity in diversity. And we occupy 1.3% of South Asia's land and 1.1% of South Asia's population. And this is where we have comparatively superior levels of human development. Comparatively superior levels. You might ask why. So let me show why I say so. Human Development Index is one aspect that I am going to harp on, which was developed by UNDP, United Nations Development Program, and which is widely accepted around the globe. It's an index that measures three key dimensions of human development. And what are these key? First one is long and healthy life, which is measured by life expectancy. Second one, access to education, which is measured by expected years of schooling of children at school entry age and mean years of schooling of the adult population. So you have a combination. Third one, this decent standard of living, and it is measured by gross national income per capita adjusted for the price level of the country. So GNI is increasingly becoming popular as opposed to GDP, gross domestic product, and it is adjusted for the price level of the country, the whole products and services, if you get the average price. So the gross national income divided by the population, then it is per capita and it's adjusted. So you have the decent standard of living being measured. So the three aspects are compositely connected. And we see HDI of South Asian countries. I was fortunate to have this website, My World on Data, so where you can feed data and get the graphs done beautifully. So I see the interesting scenario from 1980 to 2017, where Sri Lanka is at the top with 0.787 Human Development Index. And then comes Maldives, then India, Bhutan, Bangladesh, and so on. So we are at the top with regard to Human Development Index in South Asian context. But it is not a factor to be complacent, because if we see Norway is coming as number 1 in the world with 0.957. So that is one side, and on the other side, Niger from Africa is 0.394, which is the last in the list. So we are occupying a healthy rank of 72 with possible improvements available, but still we are ahead of our South Asian countries. So that is one aspect. And if you go to the sub aspects of it, a life expectancy of South Asian countries, you see a very interesting pattern where Maldives and Sri Lanka, I'm happy to say our southern neighbor Maldives are also comparable with us. So we are having 76.3 years on average with regard to 2019 latest statistics of UNDP. So our life expectancy is highest in South Asia. Moving ahead, and we see expected years of schooling in South Asian countries. And you see this graph where again Sri Lanka is at the top with 14.1 years of expected years of schooling. That is the 2019 statistics. So having got the expected years, how about the other one, average years of schooling in South Asian countries? So expected versus the reality. You see the reality which gives us even more brighter prospects. So you see the gap is much wider here. So even though the expectations are there with other neighbors, the reality is showing how we are superior with regard to average years of schooling, which comes to 10.6 years on average. So that is another dimension of Human Development Index. In moving beyond, we see the literacy rate of South Asian countries. That gives us another interesting scenario. So you see from the graph, Maldives is slightly ahead of us, but we are very happy that we and Maldives together, we occupy the highest slot, the highest bracket. So if you look at, it's the 93%. So we define it as the ability to read and write in your local language. And if you look at the other extended versions like computer literacy, IT literacy, digital literacy, they are all extended factors. But I'm happy to say in those aspects also we are doing fairly satisfactory. In fact, just to give an example, the IT colleagues of mine would agree with me, in the software industry, they coined a term to introduce Sri Lanka, island of ingenuity, with high digital literacy and available for IT solutions for the whole world. Even moving further, the gross national income per capita in South Asian countries, we can see an interesting pattern coming. So again, you can see Maldives and Sri Lanka occupying the top slot, with Sri Lanka having US dollars 12,707. There is the latest by UNDP as per 2019. So we are doing fairly well from South Asian standards, but we can do far better from the global standards. So this is the reality and the promising prospects ahead. And then there's another index apart from HDI, which is called HIHD. It is the historical index of human development. So what is the difference here? It's a summary measure of average achievements in the 3 key dimensions of human development. So what is the difference? It talks about a long and healthy life, same as HDI, but the second one is different, being knowledgeable. It takes the literacy rate into the calculation. And the third one, having a decent standard of living, it takes GDP as opposed to GDI. So you see a slightly different calculation, but I'm telling you the pattern remains same. Sri Lanka occupies the top slot here as well with 0.51 HHID. So now we can combine HDI with HHID. So this is the graph which shows the correlation of HDI and HHID. So HDI captures life expectancy, expected and average years of schooling, and GNI per capita, as I already mentioned. And whereas HIHD talks about life expectancy, adult literacy, educational enrollment rates, and GDP per capita. So with those two, you can see again Sri Lanka occupies the top slot, giving an encouraging example how countries should have their human development taking place. Moving beyond, having discussed plenty of quantitative parameters, now it is time for me to talk about some qualitative aspects. I must tell you that I am a mixed method researcher. I deal with quantitative data as well as qualitative data. I was fortunate to get a Commonwealth MDiSA doctoral fellowship that enabled me to do my doctoral studies. So I have been visiting all countries in SAARC region except Afghanistan. So I have my friends in all those countries. So what I have observed, what I have seen, and what I have qualitatively analyzed, where we are at an edge. I would say it's a case of big five H's in the way I summarize, where Sri Lankans are better at. So the first one, I would argue, it's hospitability. We are a hospitable nation. We have a warm, welcome hand to invite the foreigners, invite the tourists, invite the investors to Sri Lanka. So we are a hospitable nation. We have a rich heritage of being hospitable. So that's where Sri Lankan tourism has captured this. In fact, CNN repeatedly rated Sri Lanka as #1 tourist destination in the world. So that is something we can be really proud of. We are a hospitable country, and come and enjoy that hospitality. And then humane. We are having a collectivistic society. From the culture studies around the globe, some societies are classified as individualistic, some societies are classified as collectivistic. So Sri Lanka comes under collectivistic society, where we help one another, we work with with one another, we interact with one another. And this was a fitting tribute when we tackled COVID-19 first wave, and when we had a challenging time, still we supported one another in the second wave, and of course in the current third wave as well. That one, we are humble, we are simple and down to earth. In fact, we are not bragging about our achievement, we are not boasting about what we have, we are more thinkers than talkers. In fact, I have seen this when I deal with my neighboring colleagues in South Asia. Some become more talkers than thinkers, but we are a thinking nation more than a talking nation. It comes from the social religious background of Sri Lanka, where we are more talking about simplicity as a virtue. So humbleness is something that is inherited by Sri Lankans. And the fourth one, I would argue, is being holistic. I would vouch at least 5 of my friends who are expatriates, who had been working in other parts of South Asia, in other branches of leading global multinationals. And when they came to Sri Lanka, they told me, you have a different workforce. When I say something to my workforce, or when I say something to my colleagues in office, they grasp it faster. They have a higher understanding. They have a higher way of learning something faster. So they go through a faster learning curve. So that shows that they are rich in conceptual skills. They can connect the dots and they can see the big picture fast. That is an edge over others, where we are rich in conceptual skills, which is needed to have holistic, broad, strategic aspects. And final one, which I am happy to share, is being happy. We are a happy nation. In fact, I envy my Bhutan colleagues, where they came up with something called Gross Happiness Index. In fact, they are so unique in that sense. They are uniquely positioned to have that happiness as a country factor. But we are second to them. I mean, in fact, we are not second to them. I must confess that we are also happy. In fact, there's an interesting YouTube clipping, happiest person on earth. And that was not a Bhutani. That was a Sri Lankan security guard in a hotel in down south. Happiest person alive, or happiest person on earth, happiest person in the planet. And I don't know how to justify that, but I can tell you one thing. From organizational behavior research, happy people become more productive. Job satisfaction leads to job success. And if you carefully look at these 5 H's, hospitable, humane, humble, holistic, happy, I can argue that these are clearly coming out as qualitative parameters, second to none with regard to South Asian neighbors. In fact, Sri Lanka tourism has been clamoring with regard to some of the hospitality aspect, some of the features and the nature of Sri Lankan people. And they talk about compactness. We are compact, but still we have a lot to offer. We are authentic, so we are genuine, and we are diverse. So compactness, authenticity and diversity are embedded in all these 5 H's. Having said that, now we have covered quantitative parameters a lot, and we have covered qualitative parameters. Now the qualifying performance. Sri Lanka offers comparatively promising prospects in South Asia. I had been talking to some of my friends who are into HR, some of the heads of HR in more than 5 leading multinationals having their operations in Sri Lanka. So they were all saying that their parent bodies, their main headquarters, so their main officers are quite satisfied the way the Sri Lankan arm of their multinational is performing. So they are pumping more investments into Sri Lankan operation, be it for dairy farming, be it for product development, be it for capacity expansion, be it for more frequency adding. So it's all about having the confidence that Sri Lankan operation is thriving, Sri Lankan operation is successful, Sri Lankan operation is offering them plenty of prospects for the future. So it can be the future of FDIs in South Asia. So not just the future of FDIs. where we can be the center of attraction in South Asia with regard to the FDIs in future. So therefore, we call ourselves the wonder of Asia, and I would say it's a case of wonder of Asia with wonderful opportunities with regard to investment decisions. So the way forward, I have provided you varied information for your valued decisions. It's a case of taking the right decision with regard to the available information. I would say good luck, all the very best. Come to Sri Lanka, and we are there to welcome you and ensure your prosperity in time to come. Thank you.